my friend says caffeine's a drug. I said, oh, tell your friend, fuck you.
I don't want to be a buddy, but just want a little breakfast.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Welcome to Breakfast Punx podcast. It's a podcast about coffee, donuts, DIY punk, and pretty much anything else we want. Brought to you by Sham City Roasters and Deadbeat Donuts. From Hastings, I'm Dave.
And I'm Siobhan.
And welcome to our second episode.
Episode 2.
Thank you so much to everybody who listened to the first one.
I can't believe we're even doing a second one. This is really nice. Thank you. It's been really nice having all your nice messages. I'm saying nice a lot. It's been really awesome having all these messages in the last couple of weeks. And really strange considering it was just a weird thing that we did here in our house.
Everything we do is just weird things.
I know.
We do in our house. We're in lockdown. But yes.
But to think anyone actually took the time to listen to it and then took the time to tell us that they liked it.
Yeah, much appreciated.
It's really appreciated.
Been quite amazing, really.
Yeah.
I've spent more time on social media in the last 2 weeks than I think I had in the year prior.
Yeah, that's
is
not
a blessing and a curse, but it has been nice. It's been my first pleasant interactions on social media for a long time, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just arguing with Tories.
Well, we can still do that.
Yeah.
Lovely. So, being our second episode, we had a bit more time to plan the food and drink that we've got for our episode. So, what we're eating today, we have got some babka. Might be saying that wrong, I have no idea. From a company called Small Batch Babka, run by a lady called Pasha here in Hastings. She started quite recently and is doing really well. Sold out this month and, so getting quick for February. Babka, I mean, I could be getting this entirely wrong. I'm just going to base it on what we just ate. Some kind of sweet bread.
It's definitely a sweet bread.
But it's really nice. It must have, Babka kind of, it sounds like it might have a European base somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Turkish? I don't know, I'm making it up. Someone tell us.
You probably should have checked.
I probably should have checked that. But either way...
Hopefully we didn't just really insult anybody.
But it's really nice. It seems to be like kind of like a brioche bread thing. Ours had chocolate in it. You can get it with cinnamon in it or chocolate and hazelnuts. Not a vegan company specifically, but we asked for vegan and... I mean, I wouldn't know the difference, but it's awesome. So if you want that, be quick. January sold out. February, you can still get one. Small Batch Babka. They're on Instagram and the like.
Yeah, very much recommended.
So yeah, what are we drinking?
So we are drinking an Ethiopian coffee today from Girls Who Grind. Girls Who Grind are based in the southwest of England. They're an all-female small batch coffee roastery, and they also source specialty coffees from female producers and people who work to support them. This is the name of this coffee, and I might get this horribly wrong, so I apologise. It is, I think, Tizita Bizune. I've almost definitely said some of that wrong. But basically it's named after the person who actually manages the washing station where it's made, so I think that's really cool. It's quite rare obviously for females to be involved in coffee production in Ethiopia, so it's really awesome that they're doing that.
Nice.
And it's a good coffee. We're having it through an AeroPress, so
get the fact,
which is good, but I think it's probably more of a V60 number.
Oh,
yeah.
Is it? I don't know. It's caffeine. It's very nice. I will have it. Cool. So we're gonna probably end up babbling for a really long time, much the same as last time. So before we do all that, we better play a song.
Sounds like a plan.
It does. So this first song is from a band called Shooting Daggers. The song's called Humanity Waste. They're from London. They had a demo out in 2019. This song was put on Bandcamp in 2020. They were booked to play Hastings.
Yeah, we'd booked them to support Grand Collapse at what was going to be our first matinee show with a couple of other bands. I think Haste.
Oh, Haste. Mm-hmm.
And possibly a Tester, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Obviously, it didn't happen. It was due. I think it was going to happen in October or November, but it was long into lockdown, so it got cancelled. But it's a real shame. Hopefully, we'll get them down here as soon as we can have gigs again.
Yeah, definitely.
They're amazing.
Oh, nice. Well, let's listen to them. So this is Shooting Daggers with Humanity Waste.
You sickening man! You're sickening me! Every time I go to church, seems like you're always here, staring at me like I'm your fucking meal. Oh, what's your name? What's your age? I don't fucking care. Fuck you, we'll have friends tonight. Let me pay you a drink. Let me touch your waist. Get away! All you do is sickening me. You're sickening me. You're sickening me. I'm going mad. Ready to fight you, fight you, fight you. Step back. Oh, fight you back. Out your breath, warm sweat. The last thing I wanna do is to be touched by you. Is it normal that I'm dreaming of a place I can breathe it out? Sure I can control myself. Sure I can control myself. Don't ever touch me, you barf. How many times will I have to articulate show you that you're incredibly bothering me? How can I possibly make you around the thing I said I wasn't interested in anyway? Stay in your lane. Keep your head straight. Keep personal space. And can you fucking damn it?
That was Shooting Daggers.
Nice.
Great song, isn't it?
That's bloody good. Bloody good.
I think Siobhan might have a.
I did a fact check. I feel very bad. Just in case anyone wondered, babka is a sweet braided bread or cake originated in the Jewish communities of Poland and Ukraine. So before I go
Apologies
crediting
to
various
all
countries with
nationalities
it,
insulted
I'm
in
so
that
sorry.
last bit.
I have no idea about anything really, but it was really delicious. So everyone should eat it. It doesn't matter where it came from, but at least it's credited properly now.
Very good. Well, now we've got that out of the way, I think it is time for some.
Good evening, everyone, and the highlights of the news this Thursday.
Breaking news is part of this job.
You are fake news.
This is what's happening in your world tonight.
Fucking news.
As you can hear, the
Oh God, Dave's been
the
at it.
level of professionalism has gone through the roof
Can you
between
believe it?
episode 1 and episode 2.
The budget is rolling in.
That's
We
on-
can now make sound bits.
That's our main story, is that I worked out how to use the computer
It's
to make
good, isn't it?
nonsense.
Yeah, more nonsense to come, I fear. Well, let's do this.
Would you like to start with some news?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with a small self-plug, if you don't mind. Debbie Donuts, we're doing deliveries again through lockdown, so if you're in the Hastings, St Leonard's, Bexhill area, we're doing almost every weekend. I mean, it's not quite that. We're doing some this weekend, which is all sold out. We're going to do some next weekend, which I'll be taking orders from on Friday. So that's the 22nd. So keep an eye on Instagram for that. And then we'll do some more in February. But yeah, it's going really well. So thank you everyone who's ordered and supported us with this so far. I say us, me. With this so far. Always overwhelmed at how busy it gets and how many repeat customers there are and new customers. So it's just nice to see everyone. And also with it being lockdown, it's quite nice to just turn up on people's doors with sweet treats. So that's really good. I should also continue to mention that we are bringing Shamsi Roasters coffee as well every single time.
Indeed.
Which I appreciate most of you do already take advantage of. But, you know, for those who didn't know, we are pretty much, well, we're in the same house. So we can bring you both.
Shamsi Roasters is having a sale at the moment. A lockdown sale for January.
Is this the...
Yeah, it confused people a little bit.
Dave did a really good post about this that didn't confuse anyone
Let me explain the sale first. So the idea of this sale was that it was tiered. So you got to choose whether you got 5% off, 10% off or 15% off.
Wow.
Because I thought that was funny.
Yeah, well...
But then I threw in another one that was... So the codes are fuck COVID, fuck Boris, and fuck COVID and Boris.
Oh, so the most off is...
further you're willing to go with your code, the more money you get.
Okay.
But then there was a fuck vaccines one, which was a joke one, where you added you had to pay double.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny, but I didn't make it clear on the thing, and a lot of people thought that I was saying you got
You're a
double.
denier.
You got, yeah, basically. So I'm not, for the record, set it straight. So I changed it, made it much better.
What's it now?
Fuck off.
Oh.
That's what you get at checkout.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't work because the code's rubbish. I just made it up.
Oh.
It was for humour purposes.
For humour.
Yeah, which backfired somewhat.
It's gone really well.
But yeah, check out our social media and stuff for details on it. I'm sure I haven't explained it very well. But yeah, get some money off. And thanks so much to everyone who's already taken part in that as well. It's been super busy for the last week or so since we did that. So that's great.
Yeah, you were loaded like a little pack horse off onto the post office this morning.
I often am. I'm never given any help.
Oh, shut up. Okay, my next little bit. Two buddies of ours in the last, I think within days of each other, both launched micro-publishing businesses. Is that what I would call it? One of them described themselves as a micro-publisher.
I think
I'm
that's
going to go
probably a
with
fair description.
both of them describing themselves as that.
Yeah.
First one is Martin Appleby, who runs Paper and Ink Zine, who we mentioned on the last show, so we do look like complete fan people.
Oh, that's fine. We're huge fans of Martin.
We are huge fan
That's
people
fine,
anyway,
yeah.
but he was releasing Paper and Ink zines, and now he's going to be doing that under his DIY lo-fi punk rock publishing company called Scumbag Press. He's got an Instagram, he's already got some merch, there's a wicked t-shirt.
I haven't bought one yet, but I need to.
I know, we will actually get on that straight away. But yeah, that looks really good, so yeah, good on you, Martin. That is what we want to see. And yeah, literally like a day later...
I think it was the same day.
It might have even been the same day.
Maybe I just saw it on the same day, didn't I?
Which is amazing. Our buddy Sarah, who runs Shout Louder online, which is like a blog webzine, she's gotten together with someone else. I don't actually know his name off the top of my head, but I'm sure he's really lovely. And they are now doing Beyond Cataclysm Books, which is described as an independent micro-publisher. And they're going to be printing things in the near future. I think the first thing is her new Paper Cuts book.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah, the second one. So that's really interesting, and just I don't know what an amazingly creative small little world we have. That two people we know started publishing businesses in the same week.
For micro publishers.
Yeah, but no, it's pretty awesome. Like you can pretty much do anything you set your mind to in this lockdown, can't you?
You can. Boredom does a lot.
No, but it's pretty awesome. Things I wouldn't think to do. So yeah,
yes,
I don't know, really cool.
I should probably put a drum roll in, but I haven't got one.
That's probably going to fuck the microphone. God knows what I've done now.
Well, but we'll see. We'll see. So we've got the first bunch of bands who we're going to announce for Wotsit Called Fest this year.
The festival that did not happen last year.
The festival that didn't happen last year.
With all the others.
And may, in fairness, not happen this year either. But fingers crossed, it will.
Oh, yeah.
So Wotsit Called Fest, I'm sure most of you know, is the Hastings Punk Fest that we put on every year in September. Last year should have been the 5th year that we had it, but obviously it didn't happen. So instead, we are hoping to bring a lot of the bands back that we had planned for last year. I think we'd announced a fair few, and some of these do double up, but we're hoping that it's going to happen. I'm not sure if the world will be back to any sort of normality by September, but we're kind of figuring that it will, and figuring that we should go ahead, because if it is back, I'm sure everyone will be very happy that
Exactly.
there's an awesome festival to go to.
Positive mental attitude.
Indeed. Indeed. So, without further ado, it will be taking place on the 24th and the 26th of September. And the bands that I have to announce are The Filaments. We got Jodie Faster from France. We've got Rash Decision. We've got the Sewer Cats from up north. We got Knife Club from everywhere, who we played on the last week's episode.
Nice.
It might end up being their first ever gig. I
Oh,
imagine.
because they never had one in the end, did they?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh.
We got some band called Pizza Tramp.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I don't know. They're going to be upstaged by Haste, who we've also got. And
Why do you even announce Haste? Of course they're going to be there. Anyway, sorry.
and last but not least, we've got the Domestics.
Woohoo!
So that's already shaping up to be rather wonderful.
quite a lot.
You can get tickets now. Obviously, you're going to be,
Chancing it.
yeah, trusting us. But a lot of people have already picked some up, so we really appreciate that. And obviously, it will be awesome. The website is toxicwotsit.co.uk.
Probably.
I should check that. I always get this wrong.
To be honest, look up Toxic Wotsit on
Yeah, you'll
Facebook
find
or Instagram. There'll be a post, a link to whatever they use. Bandcamp. Do you use Bandcamp? I should ask you because you are part of them, but you are now staring into space. So,
Yeah, we've got a Bandcamp. Well, we're a record label now, so we've got a Bandcamp. No, we've got a shop.
You got a
So
shop.
it's toxicwotsit.co.uk.
Fantastic.
And while you're there, you could pick up some of the awesome records that we've released. We've got quite a few really good records in the distro as well. We have got some hats, but I think they might have sold out.
You haven't got any of those pink ones left.
No.
Everyone's going to be wearing these bloody pink hats.
Yeah,
They are very nice, though.
that's good.
I love them. On that kind of similar news of fingers crossed the world's turning around, my other bit of news is I got my vaccine yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My
Bill
arm
Gates
kinda
is
hurts.
completely in control of you now.
I am being monitored. No, I don't know.
You were a bit weird this morning.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. So, for those who don't know, I, as well as making donuts, I am a mental health nurse still. I only do it part-time or on the bank, or whatever you want to call it. And that means I was one of the, as a NHS worker, we got our invites for vaccines. So, went and got that done yesterday. I can't imagine anyone listening to this is in doubt that a vaccine is a
No.
good idea.
Apart from
Obviously,
me
it's
last
a good
week,
idea.
apparently.
You apart from your shitty code telling everyone you don't like vaccines. I don't know, I was quite excited to have got on it. It feels weird to think a year ago this wasn't even a thing we were worried about, and then within a year here we are starting to get vaccinated and stuff. So long may it continue. Can you imagine if we all got vaccinated and we can actually crack on with festivals and stuff and travelling? I'm imagining it's going to be part of travelling requirements eventually to have these vaccines. I don't know. That's
Who
what-
knows?
who knows?
I mean, it's a shit show, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I put my details into a calculator, and I don't think I'm getting mine until December.
You're
or something.
far too healthy to be getting yours.
Yeah, I'm not quite young enough and not quite old enough, I think.
Well, it must be. I mean, they're definitely not backlogged, but I mean, definitely busy already because. So I had the Pfizer one. I don't think it even matters which one you get, to be honest. But I had the one where I had a dose yesterday, and then you have the second one between 3 and 12 weeks, and mine's on the 11th week. So I imagine they're quite busy, or they're at least planning to be that busy.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so they
It'd
should.
be rubbish if they were waiting around.
Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, it's been really busy every day there. So yeah, I can't see why
And it
not.
didn't hurt, and you didn't have any weird symptoms, and you've not.
I think people do this big freak out about, oh gosh, I know loads of people that never got the original flu vaccine because they were like, oh, it gives you flu. It doesn't give you flu. Your body hasn't. Sorry, I'm going to go real pathetically symptomatic here, but your body, you don't get given flu. I haven't just been given COVID, and if anyone has a side effect after their vaccine, it's your body's normal reaction to having had something put in to your body that wouldn't have normally been there. And you having a normal reaction to that. I haven't had anything. I've got a little bit of pain in my arm, but that's because a needle went in it yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't think I feel any different, although I was acting weird this morning, but that's just, that's just Bill Gates. So
I mean, that happens every other morning, so
who knows? But yeah, so if anyone was ever worried about it, please don't be. If you're offered it, go get it as soon as you can so that we can get back to normal. Cause,
don't be a fucking stupid.
Don't be a fucking stupid.
No, I didn't say that very well.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going with. That's what Dave said, so...
On a slightly less serious note, my last bit, I was going to talk about the Capitol building protests.
What, and your favourite little man?
Not my favourite little man, but oh fuck it, I might as well do it now. So John Schaefer, who's this dude who's in this band called Iced Earth.
Guy. Sorry,
right? Oh no, I was reading that other guy's a scumbag. I'm not even going to say his name.
Good.
Well, they're both scumbags, clearly. So this guy, John Schaefer. So I have an Iced Earth album.
Yeah, we listened to it not that long ago.
Yeah, I'm quite embarrassed.
Because it stands out on the shelf quite a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
And in hindsight, it's hardly surprising because it's all the songs on it are about different wars. And there's
it's really patriotic and
I didn't think
it?
it necessarily was, but it comes with a CD of a musical that he wrote about the Battle of Gettysburg, which is fundamentally the reason why I got it.
What all really sane, normal, good people do. Yeah, cool. Only sane people.
I went to
write musicals.
Gettysburg once. Just a big field.
Oh.
It's all right. Anyhow, the musical's not very good, but I don't know how the fuck I ended up with it. But anyway, this man, John Schaefer, who's like the main guy, he's not the singer, he plays the guitar a bit, he's kind of like he's the only one who's always been in them, I think. And motherfucker turned up at the Capitol building protests with a Nazi hat on.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't going to talk about this. I haven't really got a point.
Yeah,
to
sorry,
make,
I don't know why.
Apart from that, he's a complete fucking scumbag. But yeah, I only bring it up really because we recorded this. We recorded the first episode of this podcast. We recorded, I think, the day before that happened, and then posted it the day after it happened. So I suppose I just want to acknowledge, because I felt a bit weird posting it. Really, it felt like everyone was, up in arms. Obviously, this sort of crazy thing had happened, and then we just posted this little podcast about having fun and talking rubbish. So that was why we didn't mention it anyway last week. But yeah, crazy. Trump's going tomorrow, so by the time, so we might have timed this podcast really badly as well, and the world might have ended by Thursday. So we'll see. But my actual last bit of news, which is much nicer and completely different, is that Lookout Records, the 90s record label that hopefully everyone's heard of, who launched the careers of like Green Day and Rancid and Operation Ivy, are doing a live stream series. It starts on the 31st of January. From what I can make out, it's just going to be people having a chat about Lookout Records, which if you're a nerd like me, you might be interested in. It's going to include Dr. Frank from Mr. T Experience, John Giannoli from Pansy Division. It's hosted by Grant Lawrence from The Smugglers, whose book I just read. He's a really sweet man. Lisa Marr from Cub. But it should be pretty good. Anyway, so that was my news story. Much more concise than the last load of shit I just went on about.
I have one last minute bit of news because I literally just got a message from someone. We did a interview with our local newspaper a couple of days after the podcast came out. The Hastings Independent got in touch with us randomly, and we did an interview with them about the podcast and what our businesses are doing. And I just got a message saying that it's come out. So this is a newspaper that they used to print, and now they don't print, it's just all online. So at the minute, I don't know what it's going to look like when this podcast comes out, but at the minute it's just a PDF file on the website, but they're going to post all the separate posts later in the week. So our article may be available by the time this podcast comes out. We'll probably post a link to it on Instagram because we'll be hopefully quite proud of it. I mean, we did babble on, as you can might imagine.
I feel so sorry.
Yeah,
the
poor
go through
woman that had to listen
that.
to us. It's about an hour of babble, but I'm sure that it won't read like that. So yeah, by the time this podcast comes out, I'm assuming we might have a link to it, so we will put it somewhere.
Cool.
So,
and Hastings Independent generally is wicked. So now I think we have to go to a very special edition of Norfolk News.
Oh my goodness, Dave, you have outdone yourself with your little clips. That's actually a clip from East Anglian Boy, which look it up on YouTube because many places that are near and dear to my heart are on there. And yeah, I don't know, I think it's really funny.
Yeah, it's very good.
Maybe that's just
We
me.
didn't get any ghost donkey stories from anyone.
Yeah, no ghost
I was
donkey
expecting
stories.
a barrage of emails and I didn't get any.
Yeah, well.
So I hope you've got something really good for us this week that's going to get the attention.
In
of the
fairness,
listener.
I said I wasn't going to do this, but there's two. I've got two stories. I can't help myself because a lot's been going down in Norfolk in the last 2 weeks. And also one of them felt really Norfolk and the other one didn't feel very Norfolk, but I just want to draw attention to it because it made me laugh a lot this morning. So
It made you laugh a lot. I think that might be why you were so weird this morning.
oh
Because
yeah,
you
I've
got the
gone
giggles
wrong.
about this fucking thing.
Can you believe it, David? There is a potato farmer who is dismayed at the abuse of his honesty box policy. It's lockdown, we're all struggling, and there this poor man is. He's Peter Ketteringham of the Potato Men.
But who are the potatoes?
Well, he's a company over in, where's he come from? Drayton? Is it Drayton?
There was an old punk band
I
called
think
the
it's
Potato
Drayton.
Men.
Oh, well,
They were on Lookout Records.
this-
Yeah,
God, come.
Link.
Oh, there you go. He is from Drayton. Right, let's carry on. So poor Peter Ketteringham from the Potato Men in Ketteringham. No, we're not in Ketteringham, in Drayton. Fuck. He is dismayed. There are people paying for goods with illegal tender, buttons and washers. They've been introducing this box since lockdown, and he's seen people contribute US dollars, redundant British currency, and even French francs in exchange for sackets of spuds and egg trays. Fucking hell. This poor chap, he started this honesty box when the pandemic started, and he couldn't do his normal business. So in order to
Selling his potatoes.
to sell his taters,
Oh, right.
so in order to do some business, he done the honesty box. But it's not a pay what you can. That's got a fixed price.
So he's a lazy shit, basically.
It's
He
not-
doesn't want to run his own shop.
How dare you speak about Peter that way?
Peter.
Poor Peter running his pissing potato box. But he has revealed the extent to which some people are abusing this policy, and he's now saying that this farms might have to scrap it. He said, "We have had pretty decent CCTV installed looking at this box, and it is so frustrating to look at it. You can clearly see people either putting their empty hands up to the box and pretending to pay, or even what they've got in their hands, just whatever they got. People know exactly what the prices are and exactly what they are doing, and the worst thing is having to watch someone deceive you." God, this poor man.
Peter.
Poor
If he's watching
man.
on the CCTV, why doesn't he just go and get a chair and sit by the
Yeah.
box?
Well, poor Peter. He's just trying to live a life. That's why he's got that CCTV. It's sitting there. It's no pissing box. We really want to keep doing this, but the thefts are doing my head in, and I do not know how much more I can take. Well, if you're in Norfolk stealing this man's spuds, have it from us. We do not like you.
Don't fuck with Peter's.
Peter Ketteringham
Potato box.
from the Potato Men in Drayton. You fucking leave him alone. Poor bastard.
I don't know if I can handle a second one. Go on.
This is the headline.
Mm.
Builder took pink pill and ran naked around the hotel. Yes, what's happened? Oh my gosh. A builder took a pink pill, stripped naked, and ran up and down hotel corridors, banging on the doors of other guests, a court heard. That was the Holiday Inn on Ipswich Road.
Oh, God.
Poor man. Where
Who's
are
taking
we?
pills in the fucking Holiday Inn?
Well, this 49-year-old gentleman. When staff arrived, he was lying on the floor naked. The defendant was given a towel, but threw it away before he pulled apart his...
Oh, God.
Bear with me.
I'm bearing with you.
Oh my gosh. The defendant was given a towel, but threw it away before he... Okay, I'm going to do it this time. Even if I laugh, I'm going to carry on.
All right, good. But keep the Norfolk accent perfect, please.
I will. The defendant was given a towel, but threw it away before he pulled apart his buttocks and pretended to talk. Oh gosh, that's taken a lot of time to say
It
that. Police were called and found the defendant naked and lying on his back. He appeared to be drunk and was arrested for being drunk and disorderly. Oh, this poor little bugger. Just one pink pill and his buttocks are having a chat. Oh my gosh. He was shouting abuse out of his real mouth, I assume.
Not out of his bum.
Not out of his bum. At the officers and had to be restrained on the floor. He has no recollection of running up and down the hall, but he is ashamed of his behaviour.
Okay, let's play some music, shall we?
Yes, let's.
After all of that hilarity.
Woohoo!
So next song we're going to play is by a band called Dogma. They're from Canada. And the song's called Austerity. It's from their new album. It came out, I think, just at the start of this year, which is called The World at Peace, Not in Pieces. It's just come out via Grow Your Own Records. Brilliant label. Check it out. Check out all their releases. They're all great. There's going to be a compilation coming out soon, I think, which has got at least 2 Hastings bands on it, I think.
Nice.
And yeah, Dogma are great. So here's their song Austerity.
Welcome back to Breakfast Punx podcast. We are going to now talk about some of our favourite music documentaries.
Yeah.
We figured that would be the main thing we would discuss today because, I don't know, lockdown's here, we're all stuck indoors. We always watch music documentaries and we thought, why don't we sum up some of our favourites?
Yeah. So we're just going to, I think we're going to take it in turns. And we're just going to name like 3
Yeah.
3 each, and then we'll do some honourable mentions at the end. So I'll go first.
Go for it.
I've certainly sort of tried to pick some sort of slightly maybe more obscure things that people might have either not heard of or have heard of but ignored because they thought they were rubbish, in the case of one of them.
Also, I should mention, Dave owns all of these, so these are definitely genuinely his favourites. Like, these all came off the shelf this morning, as opposed to... No, but you know what I mean? Like, all mine, I don't own any of mine. I watch all mine online. Whereas Dave actually owns... Some of these are on VHSs, in fact 2 of them are. So I just thought I should mention that.
You
because
don't
I
have
can
to
see
VHS
them.
shame me.
I'm not shaming you! I think it's a good thing. Anyway.
Well, in which case, let me just ignore you and go for the one that I don't actually own.
Ooh.
So, because I don't think you could own this one. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is it's called Once Upon a Time in New York. It's from 2007. It was made by the BBC, I think probably shown on BBC 4.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure at the time, BBC 4 were making loads of music documentaries, and a lot of sort of punk specific ones. But this one, so when we were first considering doing this was one of the first things that I thought of. And to be honest, I remembered it as being a really long, quite in-depth documentary. And I thought it was maybe even like a series, like 3 parts or something. And when we had a little look for it, and I found it on YouTube, and it was only 57 minutes long or something. And I thought, maybe when I watched this, I didn't really know anything about New York, the New York music scene, and so maybe I was impressed with it then, but I won't be so impressed with it now, because it's not just about punk; it's about punk, disco, and hip hop, and the sort of origins of them, and kind of where they all came from. And to be honest, to me, when I saw that it was so short, I thought there's no way this is just going to be like such a brief overview of this thing that it's not really even going to be worth watching anymore. But we watched it, and it is a very brief overview, unquestionably. I think hip hop doesn't really get as much of a look in as it probably should, but it just does a really, really amazing job of kind of giving that overview, and there's loads of really great footage in it. And I suppose if you're the BBC, I suppose you've got loads and loads of footage that's just sort of sitting around that you've got the opportunity to get at that a lot of documentary filmmakers don't.
Yeah.
And there's just loads of brilliant stuff of like New York City in the 70s when it was like really grimy and dirty, loads of footage of, there's a great bit of footage in this one where there's like a really plums in their mouth BBC reporter, and he's gone to is it Studio 54 I think,
yeah.
and he basically starts his news report with, I can't imagine why anybody would come to a place like this. And he's sort of shouting over the top of the music, and there's just loads of little things like that. And it touches on like the Stonewall riots, and it touches on, like I say, the birth of hip hop. Disco, personally, I'm not remotely interested in really, but the element that it kind of looks into, which is how it very much started, and like the people that actually originated it by starting sort of parties in their loft spaces and stuff, is super interesting. So I just really recommend it. Like I say, it's on YouTube. It's a weird version on YouTube. I think they've had to cut some of the music out of it or something. But my guess is, I don't mess with iPlayers, but my guess is it's probably on a BBC iPlayer somewhere. And it's really worth a watch.
Yeah, I remember you introduced it to me a few years ago, and I just thought it was so I knew the loose story of the beginning of hip hop, and there's been lots of documentaries since, and the disco stuff I vaguely knew of, but I really didn't know that much about, and the CBGB stuff I kind of knew. But the fact that this was all happening like at the same time is just like, it's just so interesting, and it's a bit mind blowing to me because I didn't really know all of that.
It kind of doesn't bother too much with the timeline. So there's a lot of stuff that if you like, I've watched a lot of more sort of in depth and read a lot of books about New York and stuff, and there's it doesn't really bother going into like the New York Dolls were 5 or 10 years earlier than television or something. It just kind of throws it all out there. And that might be, I suppose, if you were a real aficionado, that might be really annoying. But to me, I just thought it did a really good job of made me really want to find out more about all of those styles of music. So I suppose if you don't know that much, I mean, it's a pretty well covered subject, I guess, New York City in the 70s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's brilliant. I just think it's really well made.
Yeah.
And Richard O'Brien does the talking.
Yeah, he does.
So that's
so
nice
good.
as well.
Love hearing his little voice.
Mm.
My first one, I mean, Dave said these aren't very obvious. I think this one potentially might be for some people out there. It wasn't for me, purely because I came to this band and to this woman really late in my life, ashamedly so. I wish I'd known about her when I was a kid. But my first pick is The Punk Singer. It's a documentary about Kathleen Hanna, who was the lead singer of Bikini Kill and went on to do Le Tigre, the Julie Ruin. It was made in 2013. I think Dave actually went to the UK premiere of it.
I did. I was. They showed it at a film festival, and I think they had like a show in at a sensible time, like 7 o'clock in the evening, that was sold out. But they had one at 11 in the morning or something, and so I went to that, and it was me and about 5 other people. It was wicked.
Oh, nice. But yeah, I didn't even know who. I mean, I'm ashamed to say I didn't even know who Bikini Kill and Le Tigre were when you went to see that. I knew who Le Tigre were, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, my kind of like, I think I knew who Le Tigre were before Bikini Kill. To be fair, Bikini Kill were going when I was about 3 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I was young too.
Oh yeah, whatever. But yeah, I was really young when Bikini Kill were first around. So for those who maybe don't know, Bikini Kill were one of the first bands that started the Riot Girl movement, which was a punk movement. It wasn't just punk, but it was a feminist punk movement that happened in the early 90s.
Very, yeah.
As a reaction to the inequality in general. I mean, Kathleen, it talks a lot about her. She was doing spoken word at the time, and she was told by an author who you actually read a book by recently, Kathy Acker.
Yeah.
She went to a workshop by her and said, you know, I'm doing this spoken word, and she said, you want to stop doing that, you should be in a band because people will listen to you more. Because she was talking about some pretty important things for feminism and whatnot at the time, wasn't feeling listened to. So she went off, and 2 other girls happened to be wanting to make a band. They didn't know what to do. They hadn't played their instruments before. They just thought, why not? And so they got together. They got Kathleen to sing in it, and they got a guy involved as well because they couldn't find a girl guitarist at the time. And they started a band. But it's a really good documentary for just her story, because as much as it was really interesting at the beginning and all of the kind of stuff she did for feminism in Riot Girl, and then she went on and did Le Tigre, which was like a more dancey, fun version of that, but just a bit more lighthearted. She disappeared in 2005, I think it was. And so the beginning of this documentary is like, what happened to her? And so this kind of fills in that little bit of a gap between when everyone was like, we want Le Tigre, we want this, we want to hear Kathleen Hanna, to when she just disappeared. So it's really nice. There's a lot of bits from other people who are really nice and interesting in it. And yeah, definitely worth a watch.
She's awesome, isn't she?
I mean, she's amazing.
She's just great to watch, and like, she's a good interview, I guess.
Yeah, she's definitely a good interview, and she's definitely a good. I mean, the whole ethics of what she was doing at the beginning was get off your butt and do something, sort of thing. And she didn't know what she was doing. I mean, right at the beginning they show, I mean, she was doing art and photography, but she was making like clothes, and she's definitely not someone who knew how to make clothes, but one of her things was a fashion show. She was making zines right at the beginning. She didn't know what she was doing.
I think the Riot
You wouldn't
Girl
know she didn't know what she was doing because it was really good. But
yeah, I think the Riot Girl movement was sort of mixed in with, it was very much something of its own, but it was mixed in with that whole DIY ethos, which I think, like, over the years after it had such an amazingly massive influence on the world generally, and still does, I think, now.
Yeah. I think a lot of what they were, I mean, it's just interesting, even if you know nothing about Bikini Kill, Le Tigre, you're not the slightest bit interested in that style of music, it's worth a watch just for seeing
Why
the
wouldn't
sort
you be?
of...
How could you not be?
I know. Some people might not. But you fools, listen to it. But you should go watch it anyway, just to see the kind of stuff that they were dealing with in the early 90s and how, let's be honest, a lot has improved, but there's a lot you can still take from that. And
loads,
yeah, ridiculous amounts. So it's worth a watch anyway. Everyone should watch it.
Cool. My second one is, I wasn't sure whether to do this one or not, but the reason I want to do it is because I think anybody who has ever heard of this film, probably anybody who listens to this podcast, I'm almost certain would have written it off as just a load of shit, because it's the film Hype, which is about grunge, and grunge isn't a terribly popular thing, I don't imagine. with most people. But the reason that I bring it up really is because it isn't actually a movie about grunge. Really, it's mostly just about the sort of independent music scene in Seattle that spawned grunge. So it does touch on, you know, Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Nirvana somewhat, and probably more so Nirvana, but it's not just about that really, and it's a much more interesting documentary than that would suggest. And it's got loads of like really awesome bands like Gas Huffer are in it, Coffin Breaker are in it, Dead Moon are in it, the Melvins, the Mono Men. There was just so much other stuff like Super Suckers are in it, and Zip Gun and 7 Year Bitch. There was so much like awesome music in Seattle at the time that is where all those grunge bands sort of came from. But obviously they didn't get as much recognition as those sort of main bands. And so I think it would be really easy to see this and just write it off as being a kind of, you know, I don't want to watch a movie about, you know, Eddie Vedder's opinions on things or whatever. But
although I do love Eddie Vedder's opinions on things.
But it's not, it really isn't that, you know, and it's incredibly well made. I've absolutely no idea who made it. Someone called Doug Prey. I don't know if he's gone on to make anything else. But it's a really well-made thing. It was made at the time, I think it's from 1996. So it was actually probably before a lot of those grunge bands really got mega, like, stadium rock size. I mean, Nirvana would have been huge, obviously. I just think it's a brilliant documentary, and I think it's well worth watching. And I suppose the only reason I bring it up really is just to say if you're put off by the grunge tag, don't be, because it's fundamentally it is about grunge, and it's about a lot of the problems that caused for the independent artists that were going on. It's about a lot of the sort of the only mainstream aspects of it that are kind of brought up are in the context of like how much they just totally ruined the whole thing by you know, Gap adverts where everyone was sort of dressed up in grunge
flannel
outfits and all that shit. But but most of it is just about these awesome bands that happen to be in Seattle, and it's got some great live footage in it. It's got some brilliant interviews with loads of people. So yeah, so I wouldn't be put off by it. I'm pretty sure that's on YouTube as well. So watch Hype from 1996. It's a goodie.
Nice. I should also mention Punk Singer is on YouTube as well.
I think all of these.
I'm not so sure about this next one. I'm not sure I could find this on YouTube. I can't remember how we watched it. I dread to think.
Illegal.
Yes. So yeah, my next one is kind of linked in as much as I can make a very tenuous link between yours and this one.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. So my next one is The Devil and Daniel Johnston. It's a documentary film made in 2005, and it's about the American musician Daniel Johnston. And my tenuous link is Kurt Cobain slapped him and wore his t-shirt. He drew these. He died not that long ago, actually, Daniel Johnston.
It wasn't very long.
In the last couple of years. Yeah. And I must admit, at the time, again, I didn't know who he was. And then I saw all these drawings of these weird frogs going around with these long, like, tentacle eyes, looking somewhere between a frog and a snail.
Well, that's his
his famous.
Yeah, well, that's the t-shirt that Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
So I think that almost became, you know, the way like the Ramones t-shirts being sold in Primark. I don't think it's quite like that, but it's not far off.
It became his, like...
I'm sure Redbubble's got an awful lot of versions
maybe
of
it was something that you knew that was Daniel Johnston, even if you didn't know who he was.
You didn't know that was Daniel Johnston. I think you
really?
just
knew it was Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah.
But anywho, so Daniel Johnston was a musician, and he had bipolar and was quite odd, but really sweet. So this documentary just basically is about his life up until the present day, to which he was still alive when this was made. And it's got an awful lot. One of the things I really liked about it was his manager for most of his career, I think nearly all of his career, has a big part in this film. And it's just really loving, because you've got this guy, Daniel, who is just such a strange man. In the nicest way, though. He means really well. I can't remember how he got into music, but he was recording things at home all the time. He was always making music, always drawing, always trying to create. He
used to famously just give everyone his tapes.
That's it. And
so everyone would have so he'd record one tape and give it to someone, and then record another tape. So there was hundreds of these tapes.
And he drew everything for each one, so everything was completely individual, and he would just give this stuff away. And so this manager guy tried to, like, assist him in kind of making something of himself, getting it out there in a bit of a way to which he could make something for himself. But it's a little, you know, it's an interesting story in as much as this guy really is quite unwell as well. He gets a little bit like overly religious at one point. I very much remember that. He's kind of spawning all this religious stuff at people, but people are still coming to his shows and just absolutely adoring him. He's got this really mad voice.
It's beautiful, but it's ugly beauty. Definitely.
It's so lovely, and he's kind of like he's singing love songs about girls he's never been with but
never met,
which could sound really creepy, but there's something really wonderful and lovely about this guy. I don't know, it's just really lovely. It could be really sad, it could be really weird, but it's totally not. I was totally like in love with this guy at the end. Bless his heart, he passed away only in the last 3 years, I think.
Yeah, it's very recent.
I could be getting that wrong.
I sometimes wonder whether we watch that film slightly differently to a lot of people who would, as a ex-psychiatric nurse and as a psychiatric nurse. I feel like the discussions that we had about this film were possibly not what a lot of people would take from it. Because I think in a lot of ways it's just a sweet film about a kind of eccentric guy. Yeah. And I think we probably ended up, not in a negative way at all, but like in a, I don't know, we probably saw it through slightly different eyes maybe. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, I think they do refer to his illnesses quite a lot. Yeah. But I think it definitely doesn't take away from just how creative and interesting and just...
Not at all. Yeah.
He's really like for it all the time. He's really enthusiastic the whole time, and... Yeah, I don't know. I just like I vaguely remember like him just like getting on buses at the drop of a hat and going and playing shows in random places and just being really, you know, that's one thing Mania will do for you. It'll stick you on a bus and get you halfway across the country.
I think my favourite thing about it is where he, as the sort of at the time that the film was made, he'd started a band with 3 like teenagers or something.
He had, and they were
just like proper like they were just sort of like bad boys from the local area or something.
But they did know who he was, and they were like were so in awe of him. But he's like 55, 60 years old, and they're like at best 19.
Playing the weirdest songs. You can imagine
and they're all
these
playing
kids have
together.
Never,
It's really nice. And also I think that he was still writing songs about the same girl who he still wasn't with.
That's right.
Which is really sad.
I don't think he'd seen her since
like
childhood almost.
Yeah, I think it was the only girl that he knew at school. Anyway, I don't know, I might be making that up. Definitely go watch it. It's really heartwarming and lovely, and bless him, he's not with us now anyway, so go have a watch. Like I say, we didn't get that on YouTube. God knows how we got that.
Well, my last one is a film called, I might get this slightly wrong, Más allá de los gritos.
Oh, wow.
Or Beyond the Screams. And it is a documentary from 1999 about the US Latino Chicano hardcore punk scene. It's only half an hour long. It was made by Martin Sororengay, the singer from Los Crudos and Limp Bizkit. This is another one that's on YouTube, so it's definitely worth a watch.
Or you can borrow Dave's VHS.
I've got it on VHS. I can. Yeah, that's fine. You'll have to return it. Do rewind it before you give it back as well. So this is just a documentary that I watched pretty much when it came out, and it was just about a sort of. So I knew Los Crudos, and that's why I got it, and I really like Los Crudos, but I had no idea about the whole scene that this was about, and it just really blew my mind at the time. I was at a really impressionable age, and I just absolutely loved it. And I watched it again because I thought of it when we were going to do this thing, and I thought, it's probably not going to be that great. And in a lot of ways, it's not that well made. It's obviously made on a really low budget. I would guess that he wasn't really a filmmaker when he made this film. But it's just got some amazing, like really great interviews with people from the time, and it's got some absolutely brilliant live footage. And the thing that always stuck with me was this one bit of live footage of Los Crudos, which I just remember being the most exciting live footage I'd ever seen in my life when I watched this for the first time. And when I watched it again a couple of weeks ago, I thought there's no way in hell that can possibly live up to how I remember it, and it totally did. It was fucking amazing. So I won't go into it. Just watch the thing. It's so good, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you watch this film. I think it's really it's obvious to me anyway. I just think it's it's just a really cool little thing.
I haven't even seen this. I want to watch this.
Yeah,
made it sound very good.
Yeah, it's really cool. Probably better if you can get hold of the VHS.
Again, it's around our house, so...
That was the sound of the box closing.
It's a very beautiful thing. I
It
love
is.
that
I mean,
the front cover is actually not even that well produced
And
either.
it's totally just photocopied.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely just looking at the video. I mean, it's definitely just like a Memorex. Or, I don't even know if that's what's the Ariston. What was that? Anyway, it's just a VHS cassette that somebody's just dubbed.
Someone's made that.
It's well beauty.
Oh, did you get it, Dave? You used to get VHSs in the post when you wrote to some man in Scotland. Is it from him?
That sounds really dodgy. No, it's not at all. No. Flat Earth Records, who released the Los Crudos album and released loads of great music in the 90s and early 2000s. They released it in this country or in Europe, maybe. I don't know how it came out in America, really. This is a PAL version, which I think means that it's a UK release.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm sure that doesn't mean anything to anyone anymore. But yeah, no. Just to clear up that story, there used to be a man in Scotland with a big long list of all of his videos, and you could send him a cheque for 10 quid.
Did you
or
have a
something.
checkbook when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Cool, carry on.
And you had to have a checkbook, otherwise you couldn't buy records in the post.
Oh.
And
Do you not use postal orders? We had postal orders.
yeah, I sent a few postal orders, but that was more for abroad.
Oh.
You didn't need to mess with
Abroad,
postal orders
hello.
if you had a checkbook.
Oh, fair enough.
And Midland Bank checkbook had a bird on it. I remember.
You want Norwich and Peterborough, you do. Anyway.
Well, anyway, and you send him a tenner, and then basically you'd tell him 4 hours worth of stuff off his list, and then he'd dub you the tape with all that stuff on. So as a result, so sometimes he'd have like live shows. He'd have, just because it was pre-internet, you'd get like just people's promo videos and stuff.
Oh, I wonder if this man still exists and what he's doing now.
I think he was once in the Exploited. But I might have just presumed that at the time. But that's what my brain is telling me now. But anyway, he, to give you a vague idea of what sort of a thing this was, if you left any minutes on the end, it'd fill it up with pornography.
Wonderful. Let's move on. I hope you haven't got any of them up there.
No, I've still got them in the loft.
Oh, God.
That's where I got all my G.G. Allen videos from.
Oh, God.
Yeah, man,
G.G. Allen.
when I was 15, that blew my fucking mind. I was just like, what world? What sort of world is this?
What is this
that other
horrible
people
man?
live in? This is amazing.
We'll do him another day.
No, we won't.
Okay, I will be quick with my last one. Again, this might be one that many people who are listening may have already seen or be aware of, but this one's really nice. It's called Salad Days, a decade of punk in Washington, D.C., about the 1980 to 1990. It was released in 2014. Director is Scott Crawford, who is in the film. He was a kid, like literally like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid, when this scene was about halfway through. He only started going to gigs in about 1985.
I thought it was earlier than that. He saw Minor Threat and stuff, didn't he?
No, I don't know if he did.
Okay.
The pictures of him in it, he's really...
Okay.
He said he came into the scene about halfway through.
Yeah.
Maybe not 85, but not very early on. And anyway, he was documenting it even then when he was like 12, 13, taking loads of photos. He created a zine. Oh, God, I can't remember what it was called. Where he was interviewing these bands. I mean, the bands would have only been 16, 17 anyway. And now he's made this film, which we went to see the premiere of in the UK,
We did. I feel
actually.
like we've only done this to like boast about
I
all the
know.
premieres that we've got.
I mean,
These
just
are the
any
only
premieres.
2 films that either of us have probably been to the
The
premiere.
premiere of, probably. But he was there and did a little Q&A, and it was really cool.
It was wicked, yeah.
So this is on YouTube as well, and the YouTube one has a Q&A on it as well.
Oh,
Weirdly,
cool.
this guy's everywhere. But basically, the reason this is really good is it's just a really good telling of how the DC scene in Washington started. It's very much a Discord production almost, because as was the scene then, everything was on Discord records.
Well, Discord only released stuff from Washington, so I don't think it was
Yeah.
so much. They didn't really, it was
Yeah.
by default.
But it kind of talks about that anyway. It talks about kind of like the scene that they ended up making because of that, and how these bands got to play all over the country because they were on this record label, which was assumed to be good. But it's really cool. It starts with every band that pretty much ever came out of Washington, at least at the beginning. I'm sure tons of bands came out in the end. And yeah, and it kind of just talks about the influence that started having upon other things. But I don't know, it's just a really nice... It's got tons of footage from the people that were there. And what the nice thing about it is every time someone comes up, below it is just all the bands they were in. And not any of these people, like none of these people were in just one band. They were like this band and this band and this band. And I don't know, it just must have been really nice. You just had quite a small community of people that were all just like having a go.
It touches on loads of really great people as well, doesn't it? Which I think is the biggest. I mean, I could listen to Ian McKay talk forever, but like Mark Anderson from Positive Force.
Oh my god, that was
lovely in it. And
that's probably my favourite. One of my favourite like takeaway moments was when Mark Anderson talks, because he talks about how he was 36 when it started. So all these kids are like 16, 17. And he's like 36 and not disillusioned, but he's a little bit like, he says it himself in the film, like he was didn't really know what to do with his life. And then they talk about, what's it called? Something Summer? Revolution Summer, which was this kind of summer where they had tons of music happen. The scene had kind of come and kind of lost its way a bit, and then Revolution Summer happened, tons of bands played. He put it on, he was part of he created a thing called Positive Force, which was like an activism hub, which is still going. And yeah, just him talking about the joy and the purpose that all of this brought to him. He's very emotional throughout it, and he's still going, and it was just a really nice... It made you think about, like, the little communities that we have. It made me a little bit think of Hastings with, like, Wotsit Called Fest. And when we go up to, like, Leeds and Manchester and the little scene that's up there, and you speak to people in Ipswich, they've got their scene. And it just reminds me of that and how, you know, that was in the 80s and the beginning of the 90s. And actually, we're kind of still doing that now.
I think it's easier to sort of mythologise these things when it's historical, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can say, oh, that would have been so amazing to... I've been in Washington in 1980, and of course it would have been, but it's also pretty fucking amazing to be in, like you say, Manchester in 2018 or whatever.
Exactly. And that's exactly what this Mark Anderson person says. He's just like, it's now, it wasn't then, it's now, like I think, the time for, doing stuff.
Totally. And I think that's the brilliant thing about this film, which is where a lot of the films that are like this, and American Hardcore does this a little bit, but there's loads of... I've seen quite a few documentaries. There's definitely one about the Chicago scene. There's one about the Detroit scene. And I think there's probably loads. And they all have that bit at the end. The last 10 minutes is people saying, oh, the kids today, they just don't know what they've... we used to get beaten up for having pink hair, and now they're all walking around with their... And punk hasn't... No one's doing anything good anymore. And it's fucking bullshit. It's just absolute nonsense, and it really pisses me off. But whereas this one doesn't have any of that at all. It just literally has people saying, it's just... it's still fucking brilliant.
Exactly.
It's different, but that's great.
Yeah, it's totally true. It's a good one.
Yeah,
very uplifting. Again, that's on YouTube, so go look at it. Salad Days. We'll post in the little blurb all the ones that we've mentioned.
Yeah.
So you can go and look at them. Do you have any others you didn't mention?
So a couple of honourable mentions. One of them is a bit left of centre, I suppose, or right of centre, unfortunately, because it's about black metal. It's it's
like, what is coming?
So this one's called Until the Light Takes Us, and I'm not a huge black metal fan particularly. I like bits and bobs of it, but obviously the scene generally is just fucking rotten, really. But I really enjoyed the Lords of Chaos book many years ago, and it's definitely worth a read, and it is really interesting. But it's just a really beautiful film. It's really unlikely. It's got an amazing soundtrack, which is not any black metal at all. It's just this really atmospheric music. Obviously, it's all in Norway, so as a result, like, everything just looks beautiful. And it's just it's just a really well-made documentary about quite an interesting subject. And it doesn't really... This is either a good thing or a bad thing, because some of the sort of right-wingers are interviewed in it. It doesn't really go into that so much. It more just kind of looks at this scene and where it came from. I haven't watched it for a while, so that's my memory of it anyway. But
why is there so much right-wing stuff in the black metal scene? Do you know?
Absolutely.
Or is it just a thing?
I guess I'm not really don't know.
No, I didn't.
I mean, I think it's just I don't know. I think probably fundamentally it's that there was a few Nazis in the scene, and therefore loads more Nazis got attracted to it. Maybe. I mean, I think the idea of it is that it's sort of it hates everybody kind of thing. Is there?
Oh.
So I guess it would attract people like that. I'm not really sure, but it is an interesting story. It's problematic, but like there was some murders, various murders, and also
various murders.
There was various murders,
just so many murders.
And it's from a true crime perspective. That stuff's quite interesting, but even that, it doesn't really totally go into that in this film. I don't think it's more. It's much more just kind of a little snapshot of it. So I think it's really worth seeing if you've not seen it. And the only other one I'm going to mention, which isn't really a documentary, but it's another VHS that I've got. 2 VHSs in
Get
fact.
the collection out.
And I bring it up just because, again, it was another one that I saw when I was super young, and it just made me think this world is way more interesting than the thing that I see outside my window. It's not going to make you think that now because it's very dated, but it's these 2 videos. It's East Coast Pogo Attack and East Coast Pogo Attack 2. They came out sometime in the late 90s, I guess. 95 it says here, but I don't think I would have got it then. It's all like super crusty bands. There's some good stuff on there. Oz Rotten are on there. Blank 77 are on there. Quarter Alarm are on there. Total Chaos.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, you remember Total Chaos. And Dirt are on there. There's some good stuff on there, but it's not particularly good quality. I think just some guy filmed it on his camcorder, more or less. And these things are both up on YouTube as well. I was quite surprised to find them. And to be honest, the YouTube rip is dog shit. So it's kind of... I don't think that anybody's really going to want to watch this. But here's my selling point. Most of it's filmed... Well, a lot of it's filmed in ABC No Rio. And in the 90s when ABC No Rio hadn't been sort of painted and done up, and now it's basically been knocked down.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful place. We've been there a couple of times. Or I've been there a couple of times. You've been there.
We went in and got cake last time. They
We
showed
did.
us around, and we went up to where they've got their zines and stuff.
And the guy,
It's quite nice.
when we went there, the guy took us in the room where a lot of these videos were filmed.
Yeah,
and it's
the
like a
original
storeroom.
basement.
Yeah, it's like a storeroom
Yeah.
now, but it's still got all the graffiti on the wall and stuff. And
So nice.
It's super cool. So, for me as a teenager watching this stuff, I was just like, fuck, I want to be in that room right this second. But it's got all of these little funny bits in between the bands. So there's like, each band does a couple of songs, fairly badly recorded. And there's just some really weird stuff. They go into a morgue in one of them and start looking at all the dead bodies. They find a car crash at one point and they go and start like poking around.
What the
And
fuck?
there's a bit where they're just in this really weird, like, it looks like a post-apocalyptic world where they're sitting on this old van and they start just smashing it up. And it's just like, there's no explanation as to who these people are, how they ended up getting there.
Yeah.
But again, just as, I was 15 when I watched this stuff and it just blew my mind. I was just like, oh, fucking
Gonna
hell,
go smash a car.
my friends aren't up for any of this stuff. This is all I want to do. So I was surprised to find it on YouTube, really, and that's pretty much the only reason I bring it up, because I don't think many people are going to be that interested in watching it, not unless you're like a super nerdy fan of 90s crust bands. There's some incredible Mohicans, and Liberty Spikes and stuff, just unbelievable haircuts.
Okay, well now I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Now I'm
so that's
intrigued.
good. I thought the haircuts would do it.
Cool. I'll be quick with mine. I'll try and be quick with mine. I have 3 that I guess were close to being my mentions as well. Really quickly, the Joan Jett one. It's really not that good, but
Joan Jett's amazing, but
it's
the film's not very good.
the film's called Bad Reputation. It came out a couple of years ago, and it just talks about her life. And I guess she's just amazing. But one thing I was really intrigued by is she's done nothing but music. To the point, like, the whole point of this film is it's her and her manager, or maybe it's not her it is manager, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
And they've had this, like, she's had no family, never been married, doesn't seem to have had any kind of relationships with anyone ever, nor has this manager.
Yeah.
Yet they're not in a relationship with each other,
No.
but it seems like they just have this wonderful friendship that's definitely problematic.
They argue a lot.
They argue, but they obviously love each other dearly. And basically, it's just really interesting to see her life and all the things she's done, where it started, which I guess a lot of us know, but how much she actually carried on doing and how much she's done with her life. And there's just a lot of like recent footage, and I don't know, it's just a really good story. It's not well made, but it's Joan Jett. I really like her, and her life is just... It's literally just music, which is insane. Usually people have
Produced
had
the
some
fucking
life.
Germs album.
She did produce Germs
It's
and the
amazing.
best Bikini Kill songs.
There you go.
Another one, I mentioned this just because it was probably one of the first music documentaries I remember watching. Well, it's not the first for sure, because it's actually not as old as I thought. But it came out in about 2009, I think. And again, it's another BBC one. It's similar to that Once Upon a Time in New York. It might have even come out at a similar time. And it's Fleetwood Mac, Don't Stop.
It's exactly the same
and
time,
it's-
because I think I watched them at a similar time.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's an hour long, and it is about Fleetwood Mac and the making of Rumours, which, if you don't already know the story, is ridiculous. And I didn't know the story. I knew the album, but I didn't know the story when I watched it. And it's just insane to think that this band even stayed together and made that album, because there's two couples, isn't it?
Why,
well, yeah, of course.
Well, they were two ex-couples.
Two couples that were ex-couples that made an album about how much they don't like each other.
They made for some great songs.
And it's the best album ever. And yeah, it's just a really good story. So if you haven't seen that before, that's available somewhere on the internet, either on BBC websites or YouTube, I'm sure. I haven't looked for it, but it is really good. And my last one, which I just felt I couldn't let be one of my top 3 purely because of the content, but Decline of Western Civilization 2, The Metal Years, is insane.
Yeah,
it's from 1988. 1 and 3 are also really good. The first one's about LA punk. The third one's about LA punk, but more street kids. Yeah. But the second one is about LA, like, metal.
Glam metal.
And the Hollywood... not the Hollywood Strip.
Sunset.
The Sunset Strip. And it's just stupid. Like, you've got Paul Stanley laying in amongst all these scantily clad women giving his interview. The best bit is Chris Thingy from Wasp. Chris Holmes from Wasp is drunk on a lilo in his pool, and his mum is sat on...
Elderly mother.
His mum, who's like cross-armed and looks alarmed, is sat on a chair on the side of the pool whilst he drinks vodka and falls in the pool quite a lot.
He's drunker than...
absolutely
I've seen a lot
twatted.
of drunk people. I think he's the drunkest person I've ever seen in my life.
He's so drunk. Which that shouldn't be that interesting, but honestly, it's just so interesting to watch. It's awful. There's loads of women that are just saying, we'll do this, that, the other for this lifestyle, and it's a bit ugh. But you've got men who are like, I'm so gonna make it, man, and you're like, fuck knows who that man is or was.
One guy says he's going to kill himself if he doesn't make it in the next 2 years, and I've never heard of him.
Yeah, God. But, I mean, all the Decline of the Western Civilization films are really good, but the Metal Years is just it's just fucking stupid. And yeah, it's worth a watch just for a laugh.
So let's play a song.
Yes, so let's do that.
We're going to play Chinese Junk with their song Saturday Job. Chinese Junk is a band formed by Ben Nothing, who is an old friend of ours.
Oh, hey.
He's an awesome tattoo artist based in Bromley on the outskirts of southeast London. Ben used to be in an amazing band called the Griswolds, who were, I believe, the only punk rock band in Orpington.
The only one in Orpington?
Well, yeah, it was me and them, I think. Well, and I was in other bands, but most of them, not with Punx. 14, 15, And Ben started this new band a little while ago, and they've put out... they put their music up on line first of all, and then it was released as a really limited 7-inch on Reduced to Clear Records. That sold out really quickly, so now it's very shortly going to be coming out on a bigger release, on a 7-inch via Black Wax Records. The band is the same members as the Griswolds.
Well, it is now. I don't think it was meant to be.
It wasn't supposed to be, but it's ended up being. So it's Ben and Steve and Daz who were the Griswolds. It's different though. It's not.
Different, definitely.
It's much more like a garagey feel. So
they've gone for like a real lo-fi kind of sound. It's cool.
It's really great.
Very good.
So we're going to play that now, and the song is called Saturday Job.
Saturday job.
welcome back to Breakfast Punx podcast. That was Chinese Junk with Saturday Job. Now it's time for our trashy film review.
Action!
Pictures up.
Rolling!
Rolling.
This is trash. This is sweet, sweet trash.
To avoid fainting, keep repeating.
I love what I see.
Leave the auditorium. It's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie.
Oh my god. You can tell Dave's been busy for that sweet, sweet trash.
Well, I'm in lockdown.
I know you're in lockdown. We're all in lockdown, darling. So, yes, trashy film time. This week, we watched a film called Knights of the City.
What are you talking about? It was good. It was good.
Good is Wes Montgomery, Miles Davis, Beethoven. That's good. You know that Beethoven wrote a song when he was deaf? When he was deaf, man. Now that's good. Why? Because he was dedicated. Too dedicated. I'm already good. I can't get no man. We got a chance to win this contest.
That's because we gonna get it from the guttermost to the uppermost.
So, Knights of the City is a 1986 action adventure film starring various people you've never heard of. And also
heard
people you
loads-
have
yeah,
heard
loads
of.
of people.
It's got a bit part from Smokey Robinson. It's got... Who are the other people in this? Casey from Casey and the
Casey.
Sunshine Band.
Yeah.
And, oh Christ, I can't remember.
Curtis Blow.
Curtis Blow, that's it. And the Fat Boys. So, basically, it's about a gang...
It's very. I'm not sure what.
I mean,
it's
it's
about.
not very clear, but it's definitely going for a warriors kind of style gang thing in a city, non-disclosed city. It never makes it clear where it's actually is. And you've got this gang called the Royals, led by a man called Troy, and they're out on the mean streets. But they also want to be in a band. That's never made clear until later.
They're
in
in
the
a
film.
band already, I think.
I feel like the band bit comes in at a weird point.
All of it. None of it makes a lick of sense.
None of this makes sense. So basically, there's a gang called the Royals, and they've got rivals called the Mechanics. You don't find that out. You don't find their name out until about 5 minutes from the end. But there's two gangs: the Royals, who are the goodies, and the baddies, Mechanics. And something happens. They end up in an altercation. The police are paid off by the Mechanics, so the Royals go to jail. Whilst they're there, the Fat Boys and Curtis Blow are in there as well. Fuck knows why. And they all have this like rap sing-along thing, of which, to be honest, the Royals don't get involved, and the Fat Boys and Curtis Blow are just singing and dancing.
The Fat Boys are by far the most talented people in this. Their rap bit is awesome.
Yeah, their rap bit is really good, actually.
Fat Boys are great.
But next door in the other cell is a drunken record executive. Would you have it? And on his way out, he's like, "You lot are brilliant. I'm going to, come by my office tomorrow and I'll sign you." Even though all the people that were singing and rapping were not any of the gang. So they go to the record producer the next day and they want to get signed, but I can't remember. They walk out for some reason.
They're just bad boys. They can't be. They can't be
tamed.
No, not at all.
They can't be tamed.
They don't like this sort of upmarket world, I think.
Oh, and it's because they meet her daughter, who's
Yeah.
like this yuppie. I think she's even called Brooke. And
What's wrong with being called Brooke?
Brooke's a really like 80s yuppie name, I think. Who knows? Anyway, they're just like, "Oh, we can't be dealing with your shit." They leave, and she's like, "Oh, I really wish I'd signed them. How can I find them?" "I know how I'll do it. I'll have a talent competition for the street people," is how they name it.
It's called a Street People Talent
The
Competition.
street people who think they're talented.
Is it called? No,
It's
isn't
not
it?
called that. I've got it written down somewhere what she says. But
All the
it's
street
just-
people out there that think they have talent.
That's it. And that's exactly what she says. But it's really hard because they're in a gang and they've got all this like reputation to deal with, and only some of them are in the band, and the ones that are in the gang are like, "Oh, you don't take the gang seriously anymore, guys." And they've still got the Mechanics on their butt. And basically, it's about the eventual contest that happens.
Well, yeah, it is, but yeah,
I mean, it does kind of end
No, I mean, it's not really about anything,
It's
let's
not
be
about
clear.
anything.
But the talent competition that they end up having is extremely confusing because basically this guy's ex-girlfriend, they never really say she's his ex-girlfriend, but from what I can make out...
But I never really say his girlfriend.
No, but she sort of lives with him, possibly, I don't know, she's drawing
She's drawing butterflies
on his wall, so I presume that means she must live
Well,
there. Be very disrespectful.
you don't do
to
that
draw
for any old boy,
butterflies.
David.
Exactly. But she ends up being their only competition in the talent contest.
Oh yeah, she's
And she's way better than they are too.
Oh, she's the best one.
And fucking Smokey Robinson just turns up for no reason.
Oh yeah, Smokey Robinson's the host of
Yeah.
the talent competition. The ex-girlfriend leads all these women in like purple zebra print outfits, and they're just way better than everyone. But they don't win.
The outfits in this. I mean, everything about this film looks incredibly beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
But it doesn't make any sense.
Speaking of outfits, things I've noted that are really good from this film: male crop tops. There are so many male crop tops, including fat boys, deliberately fat boys.
Fat boys always wore crop tops to show off how fat they
Fat
were.
they
Although I will say, considering they're a band called the Fat Boys, I don't know whether times changed or not. They're not that fat.
You don't think they were fat
They're
enough?
slightly overweight.
Chubby
I would say.
boys.
Chubby boys at best.
But yeah, male crop tops, mesh vests, and a lot of no tops and blazers.
Not
Blazers with no top underneath.
Yeah, it's interesting because everywhere they go, people are dancing. All the time they're dancing. There's break dancing, or they're doing something, or they're having a knife fight, or they're sort of having a mixture of the two.
Oh yeah, dancing with flick knives.
And it's weird because it seems like, I can only presume that everybody in this film, apart from the famous people, must have been dancers. Because when they're trying to be tough and when they have a fight and stuff, they look like they're so choreographed. But there's one scene in it before they go to the talent competition where someone teaches them how to dance.
Oh yeah, he's Jeff. Oh my god, I know his name.
But that is the only bit when suddenly none of them can dance. So he's teaching them how to dance, and suddenly but when they're having flick knife fights in the mean streets of the city, they look like the kids from Fame.
And the main guy, doesn't go anywhere without like clicking his fingers, like oh, what's it called? Like not Guys and Dolls, but
it is West Side Story.
The West Side Story.
Yeah.
They're clicking his fingers and they're like stomping about the place all the time.
There's a big West Side Story, and I think I suppose in a way there's kind of a Romeo and Juliet sort of thing going on, because it's I don't know if it's Romeo and Juliet, but it's like she's an upper class girl, and he's a low life from the streets.
Oh yeah,
even though he's like not, and she's probably not. You know, it's a very They say some nice things in this. At one point, someone says, "I'll put a shot in your face, man." I'm not sure.
A shot in your face, man?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's a comma between face and man.
Oh, right.
I just thought it was a nice way. I think if I ever want to buy someone a drink, I'm just going to tell them I'll put a shot in your face. I don't want to fight. I want to rock, one of them says at one point. And also, I don't know what context of this is, I ain't got time to frig with no panties, man.
I ain't got time to free no panties, man.
Yeah, it's more like that probably than how I said it.
I mean, the only quotes I've written down aren't very... I don't know if they're very appropriate to say.
Well, then,
I'm going to say it anyway. There's an end fight scene where the two leaders of the gangs are fighting on top of like a building that has some like gaps for like hot steam. I don't know. I think they're meant to be like battling on top of like a factory.
So I think there's loads of like just holes in the ground where dry ice can come out throughout this film, but it's more. I don't think there's any sense to it.
Well, this is like they're on the roof of a factory, and so you assume below them is like some hot factory shenanigan. And when the baddie is fighting the good gang leader, and he looks like he's going to fall through the hole, he screams at him, "Chocolate pudding!" really weirdly.
There's two puddings in this. So there's a really good bit where the police at the start. The police ask him what his flick knife is for, and he says, "That's for my pudding," which I just thought was funny.
There's so much pudding in this.
There's loads of pudding in this film.
I'm going to just quickly round up 3 favourite things about this. We got this from a charity shop on a double disc DVD. It's called Nights of the City. The opening credits on the DVD say Nights in the City. So even the film doesn't really know what it's called.
Well, no, I think they just didn't put enough effort into it.
Oh, they put no effort into the credits.
The thing couldn't be bothered.
The opening scene has... where the two gangs are, only the baddie gang are in it, and he sees an old woman pushing a trolley, and he goes to absolutely beat the shit out of her. Only after she takes a wig off do you realise it's a member of the other gang. But that guy didn't know that. He was just going to beat up this old homeless woman. Just willingly going to beat her up. And then I mean, this isn't really a thing, but there's this scene where they go to the yuppie record executive daughter's house with their whole family, and the gang members are sat there, and the posh family is sat there, and they're having this dinner served to them on silver service. But the thing they're serving is like little boiled potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Off a silver service tray, which I was just like, the poshest food they could think of was like, like canned boiled potatoes, those really nasty ones. And the guy picks it off with a flip knife.
But before he picks it off with a flip knife, the way that they show that they're like too low class to be in this place is that he can't work out how to pick the boiled potato up with a spoon. That's why he's sort of like trying to get. He's got 2 spoons and he's trying to pick it up.
Yeah.
And they're all sort of looking at him
like,
like he's
there's
obviously
riffraff.
incapable.
Can't even
of
eat his
doing-
boiled potato properly.
Maybe
But-
it was a different time. Maybe boiled potato was.
It was just wonderful.
So there's one guy in this who actually acts and isn't
Which
a
one?
dancer. This guy Joey, who's like the tough boy in the gang. He looks quite similar to James Alex, the singer from Beach Slang. It got me thinking that James Alex from Beach Slang sees the world through the eyes of a movie like this, where everyone's got like flick knives and stuff. I think Brian Fallon might also see the world through this, everything in dry ice, people with flick knives
Maybe.
dancing.
With like dramatic
Just like
music.
a bullshit world.
If I had to rate it,
Oh yeah.
when we first watched it, we were like, that's quite good, let's keep it. As you don't always do that with your charity shop finds. This is going to be going back to the shop. If anyone wants it, you're welcome to have it. It's got a second film on our DVD, so we've got to watch the other one yet.
The second film is Impulse, starring William Shatner.
Okay, so if anyone wants it, you're welcome. Honestly, it's probably about a strong 2.5, 3 out of 10. Only because it's so ridiculous. Lots of like weird music, lots of lovely outfits. But the actual film is totally shit.
Yeah.
But it does look quite pretty. That's probably what I would say.
It definitely looks pretty. I mean, I actually read about this film years ago.
But you actually wanted to see it.
No, I really wanted to see it, genuinely. And you couldn't get it anywhere. It wasn't even, you couldn't even find it on, even if you Googled it, you couldn't find it. So when we found this in a charity shop, I was well chuffed. I thought I found, because the front cover of this film is fucking wicked.
It does look quite good, actually.
But I did notice, I looked closer at the front cover, and it's got like 5 gang members on the front cover, and it's not the people from the film at all. It's just some other people.
I'm not entirely surprised by that,
No,
given that
no, I
nothing
mean-
else works or matches.
But yeah, so in that context, I swear I really enjoyed this when we watched it the first time.
I thought we did, but
But it's really bad.
it's pretty
It's
shit.
really bad. A better version of this film is called. There's a film called Streets on Fire.
That is, so I kept singing those songs when we were watching this.
Yeah, so that's actually directed by the guy that made The Warriors, and I don't think it's that well known.
And
it's all the songs are by Jim Steinman.
Yes,
the guy that writes
that's
for
it.
Meatloaf.
It's a proper
So
a proper musical.
They all sound like Meatloaf, basically.
Oh, it's got Thingamie with his
It's got
big
Willem
trousers.
Dafoe,
Willem Dafoe
Rick
in big leather
Moranis
trousers.
is in it. That's a wicked film.
That's
So
really
we
good.
should have probably watched that and talked about that.
We'll talk
rather
about
than
that
this
next
piece of shit. But yeah, so I'm going to give Nights of the City. I would have probably given it a 2, but it disappointed me, so I'm giving it a 1.
A 1 out of 10?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want it, we've got a copy. Do watch it. Make up your own mind.
So I'm now going to play you an old song. Basically, the idea is that every week I'm just going to play you something that isn't really available online anymore. Probably stuff from the 90s, I would guess. Maybe,
what a surprise.
Maybe not, but who knows. Today I'm going to go for a band called Toast, who were from Croydon. They were around in the mid-90s. They only went for a couple of years. I don't really think any of them went on to be in any bands or anything, but it just so happened that when I first started getting into punk and stuff, they were kind of the band that supported everybody who played at like the garage. And
Were they at your first gig?
they played the Roebuck. That was a very early one. It was the first time I saw the Griswolds. There is a tenuous link between this and Chinese Junk. In fact, I imagine Ben will be very happy that I'm playing Toast on this podcast. So they released 2 7-inches on Crackle, both of which are great, and then they released another 2 on Damaged Goods. And then I think a CD came out with all of them on it. They were just brilliant. At the time, Croydon, of all places, had like a really good punk scene. There was a punk record shop there called Shake Some Action that used to have gigs on Saturday afternoons. I saw some mental bands on Saturday afternoon in Croydon. J Church played, Los Crudos played there once, Link 80 I saw in there, Blocko I think played some of their first gigs there. I saw Wat Tyler, and I saw Toast loads. Toast was sort of like the house band almost, and yeah, they were just a brilliant band. I don't think you can get anything anymore. I did notice on Discogs one of their 7-inches on there for about 70p. So if you like this, I imagine you can probably track it down pretty easily. But they were a great band, and they were a really important band to me. So this is Toast with Waste of Time.
Welcome back. That was Toast with Waste of Time. And speaking of waste of time, we have wasted enough of your time for today.
So I think episode 2 is going to be about twice as long as episode 1. Sorry.
Been a babble fest. My apologies, but thanks if you're still listening. Obviously, we're still working out what we're doing. So any feedback is always cool. If you want to give us any, please be nice.
shamcityroasters@gmail.com.
Oh, yeah.
Please email. Ask us anything. I don't know what you do. Just whatever you want, really.
It's true. To be honest, we don't know what we're doing. If you want to suggest anything we should be doing, or say hello, or we could do shout outs. Are we that cool yet? No, we're not that cool. But still, if you want to email us and just tell us that we're shit, that's also quite good. We seem to be doing this every 2 weeks. That's kind of the deal now, I think.
Yeah.
So
every other Thursday.
Every other Thursday is what we're aiming for.
And I think we're going to be on. So sorry, we've sort of sorted a lot of this out since the last episode. We haven't said any of this. So I think it's should be on Spotify, and I don't know if we're going to stay on Podbean because I think we have to pay. But it'll be on Spotify and Anchor, and I think it's on Google and iTunes. And
I mean,
all sorts of places. What
might be quite cool, if anyone can be bothered, is to let us know how you're listening to this. It might be quite good to figure out what to stay on and what not to. Yeah. Anchor is free. And you can just get to it via a link. So if we don't stick with Podbean and you don't have Spotify or anything like that, Anchor's a pretty good bet. But to be honest, just tell us what you're listening to it on and we'll go from there.
And we have an Instagram.
Ooh, yes. We didn't have an Instagram set up when we did this before. Breakfast Punx Podcast. Is that our Instagram?
Yeah.
Yep. Go follow us. And the links to wherever you can listen to our podcast is on there. Go follow Sham City Roasters and Deadbeat Donuts as well, if you wouldn't mind, or if you'd like to. Yeah, I think that's enough babble for now.
Thank you very much for listening, if you've listened.
If you're still listening, then really you're amazing. And we're going to finish with one last song. This song is from a band called Rash, and the song is called Gobsmacker. They posted it on Bandcamp May 2020. It was recorded during lockdown. They're really cool. I saw them at Nice's Pie Fest, I think, in 2019 it must have been.
Yeah. And
they're really cool. They're a 2-piece, a drummer and a guitarist, and they just make a mental amount of noise. They're really cool. So we're going to end with them. So thanks for listening, and this is Rash with Gobsmacker.
Words are spoken that make no sense. I think I can see through this false pretense. I'm beginning to doubt the integrity of society, and I don't believe all we're fed. before you say it's fake. It takes a cake. Gob, gob, smacker. White faces spill out into the day. The cars are stationary and the engines are steady. Cold air, spiteful vengeance makes me remember. Remembrance. Shock factor. Gobsmacker. Shock factor. Gobsmacker. Impressive slacker. Impressive levels of distraction. Flagellate your back. Penetrate the surface. Penetrate whole. Green thumbs to the truth. The future is happening. Make it good. Shed your stupidity. Everybody has the ability. So why are you all so thick? Some choose to disregard this power, your legacy. Some choose to ignore the answer, the informer, the king. Will you let me fool? Can we fool? Can we fool? Can we fool? Can we fool? The news hawk grows hoarser. The paper's getting thinner, the story's getting falser. Can I watch you fall? The news hawk grows hoarser, the paper gets thinner, the stories get falser. Can I watch you fall? Into the echo.